Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Sankirtan ki jai. Oh, Premanande. Umajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Ajnulambita Bhujo Kanagavadato Sankirtanai Kapitaro Kamalaya Takso Vishwambaro Dvijavaro Yugadharma Palo Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunabhataro Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Murai Pushpavanto Tipsotando Tamuno Vandeham Shri Ramakrishna Abhaya Charana Soko Sukaro Paramanando Sundaro Sugala Priyo He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Namaste Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Haripriye Shri Gauri Vaishnava Guru Parampara Ki Jai Raji Gopal Ki Jai Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Gaur Premananda. Yesterday we heard a beautiful verse from the lips of Sukadeva Swami describing the vision of the Brahmanes, the Yagnapatnis, seeing Krishna heading his darshan for the first time. And there he stood with his arm affectionately resting on the shoulder of Subal, his left hand and his right hand, playing with a lotus, twirling it around, as we said, indicating my heart is spinning. I'm showing this, how my heart is spinning to see you. Also, the other side is, I know how your heart is spinning for me. Both sides, it's mutual. And with his left hand on the shoulder of Subal, he'd say, just, I'd like to put my arm around you. Mm-hmm. This is the sign language that, of course, they intuitively understand that he's accepted them. Now, meanwhile, they're standing there with pots on their heads and in their hands, bearing the food from the sacrifice and so on and so forth, carrying this burden, but of course in love, it's the labor of love, as we say. So while they didn't feel any pain in that, Krishna felt pain in seeing them labor so much. There's a nice story in this connection with regard to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You may know that the deities of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu that we worship, that this type of worship was authorized by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, who initially told Gauridas Pandit to gather some neem wood and carve images of himself and Nityananda Prabhu and worship them. So this is the beginning of the worship of the deity of Lord Nityananda. Shri Gauridas Pandit Ki Jai. Gauridas Pandit is Subal appearing in Subal Saka, appearing in Gaur Leela. And you can imagine how enthused he was to worship the deity. So he was laboring hard, cooking a feast every day and decorating them with whatever valuables he could find and so forth. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, on occasion, Nityananda Prabhu came to visit him, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu let him know that he was aware of the labor that he was exerting in the service of the deity. And he said, and it pains me to see you undergo such labor. He said. So in my worship, it should be very simple. Just offer me flowers and some simple offering, and I can be satisfied. course, we don't take that now as an excuse just to not offer the best to Krishna. To Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. No, you should, but it just stating it to underscore the fact that Krishna knows of our labor, the effort, we should say. It's a aspect of bhakti, labor and effort. Excuse me, labor, effort, or labor and mercy. These are the two. We should labor to get his mercy, as I often say. It's a special kind of labor. But whatever we do, whatever sacrifice we make, whatever, how much we perspire, weep in the context of service, it doesn't, he notices. Others may not. We may weep that people are not taking advantage. I think that we're a failure, but he doesn't think like that. So, feeling some distress at seeing the ladies carrying all this food, he asked them, he said, Swagatam vo Mahabhaga. Welcome, he says. Mahabhaga, oh greatly fortunate ones. We might render it Mahabhagavatas. Great devotees. Asatyam Karavamakim, he says, please come. Asatyam, and sit. Please come and sit near me. And Karavamakim, Kim, what is an interrogative? So, what can I do for you? This is reminiscent of what we'll hear later. Of course, we're aware of it already, so I say reminiscent of what he says to the gopis after they leave everything in the night and come to the call of his flute, greets them and says, "What did you want? What can I do for you?" Of course, at that time they explain themselves, and then he pushes back on them. He pushes back. He gives all types of reasons from Dharma Shastra, from the Karma Marg, as to why they shouldn't be here. Kind of testing, is their bhakti covered by karma? It should be Gyan Karma Adi Anavritam, not encumbered by karma or Gyan. Anukulena Krishna Anushirana Bhakti Uttam. This is the Swami's definition of Uttam Bhakti. And of course, they were able to reply back and refute him and pass the test, right? And so similarly here, he asks, what can I do for you? Yano didrukshaya prapta. Upapanam idam iva. So he cuts to the chase here in comparison, and there's a very much of a comparison in this chapter between how he interacts with the gopis from the brahmanis from this point forward, and how he interacted with the gopis, while at the same time there is a difference. But here at the onset, although he's going to push back a little bit, he starts before pushing back by saying, what can I do for you? And more or less he says, you should know that it is upapannam idam hiva. It is certainly appropriate on the part for you to come, in case you might have any doubts. Certainly that is the you could say they've been surrounded by doubters who are suspicious of them, and whatever they may know, they're all absorbed in this Krishna. They've never met, even meanwhile their husbands are here, their children are here, and so on and so forth. It's a doubtful environment in which they have found themselves. So he assures them, don't have any doubts. Coming here is appropriate on your part. Now, at this time, the cowherds had to take the pots and all that they've been placed down, put them in an area, getting ready to feast and so forth. And meanwhile, a little bit separate, Krishna is speaking to the Brahmins. And it's not that what he says to them is something that is too confidential for the Gopas to hear, but rather he speaks to them very much from here out in the voice of Bhagwan. So with some Aishvarya, with regard to their trajectory that has brought them there over lifetimes, sadhana, assuring them. He knows, again, the effort that they have put in, and this is appropriate souls that give themselves to me like this. So he speaks in this language of some Aishvarya. Someone wrote me the other day and said, we want to worship Krishna as a friend, but, I don't approach the deity as a friend. We're taught to pay respect, obeisances. And how does this all play out? How do I just wake up one day and see him as a friend or something like that? So, of course, I explained to him that in our sadhaka deha, we worship the deity in archan. Archan always has some element of reverence to it. And we can find that in the prayers of great devotees, even the Goswamis and so forth. And they established big temples and a standard of worship, which wasn't dressing like gopis and gopas and treating Krishna as the gopis and the gopas do, taking the deity off the altar and wrestling with him for the day or something like that. They didn't teach that by their example in their perfected sadhaka dehas. So we have a sadhaka deha. If we use a sadhaka deha like the Goswamis use it, like the Dwadasa Gopals use their sadhaka dehas, a siddha deha will arise. And internally then, we'll have a suitable body to interact with Krishna. This sadhaka deha is not suitable to interact in that way. So Leela has a certain nature. This will come out more as we go forward, and that's important. Right? So again, if you use the sadhaka deha properly, worshiping Bhagwan, it's Bhagwan who will show himself as a friend. And friendship is a mode of seva. So we can't start out in friendship. We have to start out seva mukhi jivado. Tashi Krishna namadina. You can't understand Krishna with material senses, but if you serve him, and serving begin by putting the name on the tongue. Tashi Krishna namadi nabhavad. Material senses you cannot understand him. Sevan mukhi jiva. Jivha, not jiva, jivha means the tongue. Jivado. Ado means beginning. Beginning with the tongue. This is the service begin. With the name of Krishna. Let the name of Krishna come through the ear, go into the heart, and come back up on the tongue and dance there. And this is, of course, especially following the teaching of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is very central. Kirtan. In Kirtan, everything will come. From Kirtan, we heard yes, from hearing, Kirtan will come. From Kirtan, Smarnam will come. What did we hear this morning? We go deep into Smarnam, what will we find? We go very deep into Smarnam, what will we find there? More Kirtan. What kind of Kirtan is that? Right? We heard Krishna's Narmasakas performing Kirtan at Vishaka's Kunja along the banks of the Radha Kund. And he fell into a trance, waiting for her. Singing songs, in this case, Leela Kirtan, about his romantic prospect, and so forth. So that is Kirtan is the means, we say, and Kirtan is also the ends. Right? So we should not be have any doubt about the efficacy of Kirtan. Bhaktivinoda Thakur Oh, at the end of his, is it the Gitamala or Sharanagati songbooks? One of the two, I forget. He has a beautiful prayer about the efficacy of Nam. How the name will change my life, change my form. It will give me a swarup, a body suitable for serving Krishna in the Leela. Very beautiful song. So this was, of course, then, and appropriately so, the emphasis of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And we follow that. So the point being that what you talk about, you'll think about. And so we serve Krishna as Bhagawan with some measure of reverence. And we know that he has friends, he has lovers. And we ask, please bless me, I may follow in the footsteps of my Gurudev and other such lovers and friends that you surround yourself with. This will catch his ear. You are Bhagawan. This is the feature of yourself. We think it's the primary feature. We ask that you reveal that to us. So without understanding him as Bhagawan, how will we understand him as a friend? And what it means to be the friend. Friend of who? Friend of Bhagawan. It's not just any kind of friendship, right? In the circle of friends, we have to draw the circle. And on the circle, we'll have to differentiate between that which is included in the circle in terms of friendship and that which falls outside of the circle in the name of friendship, right? So there are many types of friendship. This is the friendship of Bhagawan. So we have to understand how that works. And we have to understand who is Bhagawan, who is the form of God that could interact with us in that way. And what is he like? Who are his friends? So this is all tattva and so much other important underlying ground, the ground, if you will, of tattva. So the bhava is going to come out of the tattva. Not that you have to become an encyclopedia of Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta and a theologian to get bhava, but some important points, right, some bandhagyan have to be collected so that we know what who we're going to be a friend of, what it means to be a friend, the different types of friends, and so on and so forth. So we petition Bhagawan, show us yourself as a friend, as an object of love, as you appear before the inhabitants of Braj. May I chant this mantra given by my Guru that I may enter into that circle by your grace. So you're praying to Bhagawan for that. That this side of himself he will show, he will give access to. That's attractive to him. Because as he told the gopis at Kurukshetra, Mayi bhaktir bhutanam amritatvaya kalpadre. When he heard what they said, he said, oh my gosh, my God, he said, people worship me for things, or people worship me for eternal life, or people worship me because I'm God. But the way that you're approaching me worshipfully, it doesn't even look like worship, but I can feel that it is. And that by that, I'm completely purchased. I'm in your hands. They said, what did they say? Such a nice verse. What did they say? It's such a beautiful verse. Forgive me, I can't remember the Sanskrit, but this is a Kurukshetra. They told him, this is our position. We are not big gyanis. We don't have the power of yogis who approach you. Or neither are we celebrated bhakta sages or anything of the sort. Samsara kupam, they said. We're living in the kupam, the well of samsara. Just going on with everyday lives, milking cows, collecting cow dung, cooking chapatis. That's what we're doing. And we have the desires of such people as well. We want to have a husband, and we want it to be you. we have no thoughts for liberation. Have we have any power for that? That we see in the sages and great devotees and yogis and jnanis. We want you in the well with us here. That's what we want. And he just like, whoa. Krishna passed out. Said, oh my God, what kind of love is this? Even Krishna is staggered by that. Of course, you have to put the two things together. They're in the well, so it appears, but the desire, which is an ordinary desire, like in this case for a young girl to have a handsome husband, capable, and so forth, charming and all, but they've selected Bhagwan. They don't necessarily know that he's Bhagwan. People say that he is whatever. They think that may be an aspect of him, but this is who they want for their lover. This is who the cowherds want for their friend. So we have to know something about Bhagwan to love him as a friend, to love him as a lover. The Goswamis have shown, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has shown. Chaitanya, we sing in the morning, what is it? Deva Vandanadi Kore Jatane. This is Sachinandan. Deva Vandanadi. When Sachi sees her son being a religious bhakta and worshiping after coming back from the Ganga, the other side of the Ganga, right, in the midday, then Aparana Lila in the late afternoon, after the midday Leelas, coming out from the thorn bushes and so forth. And they come into the city of the town of Navadvip, which is like Mathura. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu and their associates, they're performing Sankirtan. They're heading to the Ganga to come back across to Mayapur. And in the context of chanting in Sankirtan, Nadia Nagare. Oh, and he's so charming, right? Aparana Kale. Pragana Mile, Bhuvana Mohana Sundar. Bhuvana Mohana Sundar. Mohan Sundar. Beautiful, bewildering. Bhuvana Mohana Sundar. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nadia Nagare. Nadia Nagare. Pire Gane. Subharanahika Shesha Subharanahika. Again, speaking about his charm and beauty. And there in that Sankirtan, they enter every single house, every single day of every devotee, every household, and pay respect to every deity in every house, expanding themselves, all the associates. And they cross the Ganga, following the cows, back to Sachi's house. And of course there, as the evening begins, Devavandana, he worships. He engages in the deity worship in the house, and Sachi is so proud of her son. He's a religious boy. He's a bhakta. Just see. Young Vishwambara. I've got such a good boy. Devavandana. This is Sachinandan. This is a name that's so dear to the devotees. Should be dear to us because of Sachi. She allowed her Nandana, her bliss, to go to Puri, to pursue the Madhya Leela. He had taken sannyas, and then he thought, what have I done? In a moment of madness. He placed himself at Dvaita's house in Shantipur before Sachi and said, what have I done in my madness? I put myself back in your hands. Dilemma came to her, what to do. If I tell him to give up this sannyas, come home, then all the Brahmins and the sages and devotees will think ill of my son. But how can I let him go like this? Such a young sannyas is for when you can't do anything else. Your senses are already worn out and everything. Take sannyas, and it's a care package. People think there's an old sannyasi, we'll take care of him. Right? No, but So, but is it 20, 24 years old? And you want to take sannyas? This is the prime of his youth. And the whole world is calling on the youth. Yeah, the colleges want them, the military wants them, the government wants them, everybody, the girls want them if they're men, right? Oh, and they're so charming at this stage. How can you resist all of that? And hear the faint call of Bhagwan. How can it drown out the call of all these other factors? Calling on all your different senses at different times or at the same time. Therefore, sadhu has to speak loudly, cut like a knife. Sadhu means to cut like this also. Cut away the ties. But Mahaprabhu, of course, he heard this call after meeting and taking diksha from Ishwar Puri. And exclusive devotion was his only preoccupation. So Sachi said, I can't give up the sannyas. That will not be appropriate. But I can't lose him either. And he's going to go to the Vrindavan, enter there, and never come back. Every day the cowherd boys gather and enter into that forest. And every day, deep in one of the forests of Braj, they make a pact. We're never going home. We're never going home again. This is the main playground for gopas and gopis, right? Meeting day and night between gopas and gopis. It's all a play. The romantic comedy plays itself out there. Every day they make a pact like this because the Vrindavan forest, this bond, that bond, the whole of it is so fascinating. Every aspect of it, a new thing could be found at every moment. It's a total adventure. Beautiful, charming, comforting, no fear there. And then the presence of Krishna and Balaram, they feel so empowered. Right? Every day they make a pact. And every day they go back. Because the Vatsalya Bhav is calling on Krishna, calling on him to answer to that. And he promised, I'll come back. So, how do we get there?
Come and sit. He told him to come and sit.
Told him to come and sit. He said your approach was appropriate. He was speaking like Bhagwan. And he goes like Bhagwan. And so the cowherd boys are a little bit of a distance. They don't need to hear, I'm Bhagwan, and you, so on and so forth. They see him, they've entered, they see him as the friend now. But in order for us to see him as a friend, to know him as a friend, to know him as the object of love, we have to know him as Bhagwan. So use your sadhaka deya in this way, with these other ideas. This is a thought. This is the form of Bhagwan I want to associate with, but it's Bhagwan. So his love must be exclusive. What does it say in the Bible? God is a jealous God. The God of the Bible is jealous. What's that?
You can't serve God and Mammoth.
Right. You cannot serve God and Mammoth at the same time, right? Humanity. You can't serve both at the same time, one or the other. Of course, the beauty is, if you get it right, if you serve God, that'll be the best service to humanity. Right? You set an example for them. Not how to solve this problem, that problem, another problem. That are all symptoms of the problem of our identification with matter. Right? There's this fellow has a show and he interviews different scientists and philosophers and religious people about the nature of consciousness. I forget the name of it. It's well produced. I watched it once. He was asking a fellow who was advocating, that there's a soul and so forth. He said, is there a soul? Why should I think there is? And so forth. And I'd like to think there is, but some people say yes, but it's not like Yes, I'll have an afterlife, but not with my family and friends. And so what would be the purpose? What would be I'd like to have an afterlife with my family, my friends, and so on. I'd like that to continue, but I can't see how that could be possible. Some people say you can have it, but you can't have it with your friends and family and all such things. Some truth to that, the latter, right? No, you can have it, but the illusion that you have, who are your friends and your family, the limited idea, sense of who you are, that you can't keep, because that's the problem. Thinking the way you're thinking who you are, that's what's keeping you here. So you're much more beautiful than that. And by the way, there is a family there waiting for you, and friends, and everything. And they're not like the mutinous family here. Bhagavatam begins with Sukadev's speech. What does he say? He says, the opening statement of Sukadev in the second canon, when he begins to speak to the Raj, he says, Apashatan atmatattvam griheshu grihamelinam. He says, oh, you have surrounded yourself by family and friends. These are all atmasainyeshu asatsapi tesham satatadinhanam pashanapina pashati. Atmasainyeshu. Sainya means like military generals and warriors and army. Atmasainyeshu asatsapi.
Fallible soldier.
You surrounded yourself with fallible soldiers. I like to change it. You surround yourself with mutinous sailors. They're not just fallible, they're mutinous. They will turn on you at any minute, it's possible. Sridhar Maharaj used to say sometimes, God save me from my friends. Takes a long time to know somebody. See, oh, actually, he wasn't my friend. Goodness. Friends, because friends are forever. Friends are forever. I was initially going to entitle my forthcoming book Friends Forever, but I changed it to Circle of Friends. So Krishna, anyway, speaking to them here as Bhagwan, right? Knowing him as Bhagwan, hearing there are different aspects of Bhagwan. This is Sambandha Gyan. He has Vaikuntha, he has Ayodhya, he has Dwarka, Mathura. These are different places. There are other places unknown yet, unspoken of. This one, Braj, Golokel Premodhan, Harinam Sankirtan. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brought the wealth of that place, the prema of that place here, Harinam Sankirtan. That place I want. Oh Bhagwan, let me go there, following in the footsteps of those kind of devotees, like those friends. They were at a little distance. They didn't need to hear. As he speaks as Bhagwan here to these Brahmanis, with some manifestation, as I say, of this Aishvarya. But you have to understand again, out of Bhagwan comes Yan Mitram Paramanandam Puna Brahma Sanatam Aho Bhagyam Nanda Gopa Brajokasam Yan Mitram Paramanandam Puna Brahma Sanatam. Brahma figured it out. He said, oh my God, Aho Bhagyam, how lucky, how fortunate. Nanda Gopa Brajokasam are the people of Nanda Maharaj here, of Braj. Yan Mitram Paramanandam, he who is Paramanandam, Purna Brahma Sanatana. These are big names. Of course, they're secondary names of God. Purna Brahma, Paramananda, Sanatanam. He is all these things, and he has become Mitram. Yan Mitram. Mitra means friend. He who is the Paramananda, the Purna Brahma, has become Mitram Sanatanam, eternal friend of them. Not a fair weather friend, eternal friend. So we have to explore the circle, what kind of friendship. So some tattvas there, out of the tattva. Bhav will come. So he's speaking to them and to us also. Here, they've sat now. The boys have taken the pots and getting ready for the meal. And Krishna's talking to the ladies, the Brahmanis. And at first thing he says, as we see here, it's right for you to have come here. Don't think for a minute otherwise that you've done anything wrong. Again, you've been programmed, or you've been bombarded with feelings, at least thoughts, if not statements, about the inappropriateness of your affection for me. Cast it aside. Here I am. I'm not an imagination. I'm not just a myth from the village people talking about some special guy in the village. Why should we pay heed for that? We're educated people of the city. No, I'm real. And I'm more real than your Brahmanism and your Varnashram identity and so on and so forth. And it's appropriate for you to come here because you're coming here in an internal mood that transcends your external status as wives of Brahmins. You've come to me in an appropriate way, we say. You've come to me you haven't come to me in your material body insisting to be my lover. You've taken the steps to acquire a body, to give rise to a body suitable for this kind of love. You've heard, you've done bhakti, and it's brought out your internal prospect. In this way, that's how you're meditating. This is for meditation, right? When you can do meditation, really, then to that extent, external activities are not necessary. When you can meditate and weep, then you don't have to perspire and do scrubbanam, moppanam, right? You can sit, do shravanam, kirtanam, and meditate, and dhyan, smaranam will be going on at the same time. But before that, mityachara saluchate, Krishna says, don't imitate in Gita. Go step by step, right? So scrubbanam, moppanam. Mahaprabhu prayed that, what does it say? Fifth verse, sixth verse. Next one. Nayanam Galudashaya. It mentions all the Satvika bhavs. When will they come? When will I experience all these transformations of ecstasy under the influence of the name? When will the name cause this to happen to me? In our sadhaka deya, we feel some satvika bhavs, horripilation, tears, typically. But in the internal body, it would be very rare, but it happened in some instances to Radhasa Gopal, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In his sadhaka deya, acharya lila, in that form, of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, perspiring blood, changing colors, passing out. And Rupa Goswami says, and there are other things, we can't even mention them, that measure of his transformations, that is sadhaka deya. It's saying, the prem that I'm seeking, it doesn't fit in the sadhaka deya. That's what the teaching is, Antya-lila. It doesn't fit. You end up in the ocean, caught, if you're lucky, by a fisherman in his net, and understood by devotees. Oh, this is what happened to him. The fisherman couldn't figure it out. He touched him, and then he got the bhav. And when Sarup Damodar met the fisherman, he could understand, you have been in the vicinity of Mahaprabhu. Where do you see him? I don't know any Mahaprabhu, but I caught something in my net. It's over there. A ghost, he said. Something. And it's now went inside me. Hmm? Hmm. Completely to look at it. So all these transformations. So this is, but these will readily show up in your Siddhadeha. So indeed, the very descriptions of the Gopas and Gopis in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, with examples of their sattvika bhavas, they're made out of sattvika bhavas, anubhavas, sthayi bhav. They are a trans-psychological emotional composite. The whole place is just ecstasies. That's what it is. It's a land of ecstasy. All the movements, anubhavs, particular anubhav for this type of cowherd boy, that type of gopa. Yeah. Sanchari bhavs, internal feeling. Sthayi bhav, the dominant emotion. Sattvika bhavs. So it's a suitable body for this. The sadhaka day has its limitations. Up to praying, just barely. It can contain. After that, then big problem. Mahaprabhu was showing this in his own Leela. So Krishna is saying, it's appropriate that you come here. You come here and having my darshan, you're seeing me not with ordinary eyes, right? And you meditated upon me to the point in which you attained Sarup Siddhi, the eternal form. Now you're in the penultimate stage here. So much said here in a couple of words, right? It says that it's appropriate that you come here, appropriately. And then he will speak to them, and in the voice of Bhagwan, as I say. And from this we can find general instructions for all sadhakas, right? It's not esoteric in a sense, but I am the soul of all souls. You get some basic sambandha here. I am the soul of all souls. And what is the soul? I am the Paramatma. If I am the Paramatma, what is the Atma? The Atma is the object of love in this world. It's not your mother, it's not your father, it's not your husband, it's not your wife, it's not your daughter, it's not your son. It's you. These things are all just manifestations of matter that has no capacity to love. The Atma can experience qualitatively. The mind can kind of has a quasi-qualitative experience only because it's in proximity to the Atma. The world has no feelings. It doesn't matter unless we matter about it, right? Unless it matters to us in some way. So the soul is the basis of love in this world. In other words, we think we love this one and that one. We only love them because we've extended ourselves into them by saying, he's mine, she's mine. The I extends itself by two letters, my, and it's a deception. And big web we've woven. When at first we deceive. What does it say? What a web we weave when at first we deceive. So this is the beginning of deception. The I thinks my. No, nothing is yours. My, and all of a sudden, the sense of I is lost. The real I, the real I is lost. And I think relative to my, that is me. So it's me I'm loving. But it's not me. It's really the real I that's extended itself into others, but in two small letters in English, my, and the attachment. And he says, of course, and why do we love the soul, even though we don't know it's the soul that we love? Of course, when people come to know that, when they see through the illusion of mine, materially speaking, then they rest in I am. And there's some bliss in that, right? That I am. So it's a big step. But here we want to go to the other side, right? Beyond the smallness of I am. To know that I am a gopa. I'm a gopi. I'm a servant. Why is the I as joyful as it is compared to the miserable existence derived from attachment, which Krishna says is the womb from which suffering is born? So you can keep it. And you might not even get it, even though you're attached to it. Thinking about it, making an effort for it. And you get it, it may disappoint you, and you can't keep it. This is the wisdom of the Buddha, it's mentioned in the Gita. If you have love, you have wisdom too. So why is the I blissful in comparison to the mind? Because the I is part of the Atma, part of the Paramatma. This is also taught in the Brahma Vimohan Leela. It's being taught again here in this section. He speaks like this to the Brahmanis, to the Yajnapatis. Good advice for all of us. You see, this Prakat Leela is full of lessons for sadhakas. Our Prakat Leela is more lessons for siddhas. It's sweet to hear how it works, how it functions, what are the feelings, and so forth. But we don't have the feelings. We hear, we know they're there, and then we follow the sadhana properly. Feelings will come. As part of that sadhana is letting go of the false feelings, right? They were replaced with hearing and chanting about Krishna. We develop some thought for that, feeling for that, favorable wind behind us, a natural tendency to go in that direction. Rather than it being difficult, it'd be natural for us. We have to habituate ourselves in this way. This is sadhana, because we've been habituated in another way. And that momentum is carrying us away, even with good advice. That momentum carries us away. We need good association, drag us there. Right? So he gives this kind of advice. I am the Paramatma. And it's right to love your soul because, and why is it blissful? Because it's part of me. And the soul relates to me as you have done, and so forth. He gives this kind of advice. And then, to our surprise, what does he do? He says, now, having told you this, you should go home. What? You should go home, and you should help your husbands complete the sacrifice. After all, they're Brahmins. And if Brahmins, well, we've got to be generous with them. They may make mistakes. They did in this case. But there's a place for what they were doing. The sacrifice was not for themselves, but for others, properly understood, and so on. So you should go back. I've set up this system. The kind of sacrifice they were doing, that comes from me, Yagnavai Vishnu. So we should help them do that. So a conversation begins. Similar, as I said before, there's a conversation between Krishna and the gopis when they come in the middle of the night. He told them to go back. He didn't tell them in the beginning, it's right for you to come here. He's done that. Yeah. But still you should go back. No, they don't want to go back. But here's the reason. You have to go back because of this. But because of your husband, the sacrifice is going on. It should be completed. And it can't be completed without you. There's a role that you have to play there. And they say, no, if we go back there, we left our husbands to come here. How can we go back? How can we go back? Now they know we're gone. And Krishna says, no, go back and they will treat you differently. He knows the Gopas have already blessed them, right? By my grace and at the wish of the Gopas, they'll be turned around. You'll go back and they'll no longer treat you as they did. They'll see you in a different light. So they have some doubts about that because it's a pretty heavy environment that they were living in, anti-devotional, religious anti-bhakti environment. Right? So he presses on that, he pushes on that. They push back. They say, we don't want to go back. He said, but he says, how can I accept you now? They said, I live in Braj, you're from the city. I said, go back to the village and we will go and be homeless and we live in the forest. We live in the forest, homeless, because you come to the forest every day and then we'll see you when you come. What's happening here is that Krishna has a desire to make this sacred union with them, and they do as well. Now, Krishna is Satya Sankalpa, and so are they. The mukta, liberated jiva, Satya Sankalpa, means whatever her desires are, it will happen. And Krishna is Satya Sankalpa. Whatever his Sankalpa, whatever his will is, it happens. A little different than here, right? Because the will expressed in this circumstance is under the influence of the Swarup Shakti. So when your will is under the influence of Swarup Shakti, whatever you will happen, because you'll only will something that will be pleasing to Krishna, and the Swarup Shakti exists only for the purpose of pleasing Krishna. So Krishna is willing to meet with them, and they're willing, desiring to meet with him. They both have the same desire. Why is Krishna telling them to go back when he desires to have them? It's a very important reason. All the desires will be fulfilled of the liberated soul, and all of Krishna's desires are fulfilled automatically by the agency of the Swarup Shakti. However, his Leela Shakti, which is an aspect of his Swarup Shakti, she governs the nature of the Leela. So she can override his Satya Sankalpa, his Sankalpa, his will, of that of the devotee, if it won't fit into the nature of the particular Leela. That nature, that Leela has to be preserved for Krishna to taste rasa as he does. This tells us that an important thing. Krishna Leela, with all its Indianness, is not something that just appears Indian as a way of talking about it because people in India talked about it, but when you get there, it's not like that at all, because India is just a culture from this world. Is God Indian? No, he's God. Is Krishna Indian? Yeah. He is a form of Bhagavan. And this is the form. This is the form he's appearing in. And his Leela is like that, exactly like that. When Gopakumar went to Goloka, he said, it's just like Mathura and Vrindavan. That's the same on earth. Same. And there are other Leelas and other departments, other prakashas in the spiritual world. And if some avatar appears in another culture in a certain way, that will show up in another Vaikuntha Loka. His avatars are asankhya, uncountable. So he has uncountable manifestations of himself and leelas. So this is an actual leela with all so many details, right? There's more to it than the details, but some way they're talking about it, those who have experience, and that talk is empowered. The details should not be just dismissed, and we don't want to turn Krishna into God. Oh my God, no, we want Krishna, God, to turn us into friends, to show us the side of himself, right? Somebody told me that I want to be the friend of Krishna, but I want to ride a mountain bike with Krishna. And I said, well, they don't have any there in Goloka. Yeah. But that's my culture. But it's something you got to change. Right? If you want Krishna in Ragmarg, it appears in this way. So the Leela has a certain form, it has a certain social structure and so forth. Other Leelas will have different form, expression, and Leela Shakti presides over them. Ram Leela is a certain way. What's going to the way things function in that Leela Shakti will preserve that. Let me give you another example, a prominent example to help you appreciate the point. In the middle of the Rasa Leela, well, really towards the end, when Krishna saw the gopis' love for him, first he disappeared with Radha. And he saw Radha's love, then he disappeared from Radha. Then the gopis caught up with Radha and saw her love for Krishna in separation and understood she is Aradhana, the most worshipable. See, her separation, what she's going through is greater than all of ours combined. So they gathered together with her Chandravali, her cousin, everybody, giving her support. And they went to the bank of the Jamuna, and there they began to do kirtan, some kirtan, singing about Krishna, Gopi Gita, singing. And then Shaili came from behind the tree, poked his head, and saw them. And they said, "What kind of lover are you? That we would come out here and risk everything, and then you disappear. Now you're coming back. I mean, what do we make of all this?" Of course, he says ultimately, "I disappeared because I wanted to see your love together in separation, because when you have something valuable and you lose it, then your feelings for it intensify. But having seen that," he says, "I can't repay you. I can't reciprocate in kind. I bow to your love." So what is happening at this point? This is the genesis of, yes, and out of necessity, what? Another Leela. Krishna wanted to taste Radha's love for him from her vantage point. He is the object of love for everybody in Vrindavan. She is the fullest face of love itself, Mahabhava Swarupini. Krishna wants to step into her shoes and her bhava. How can he do that in Vrindavan? That would turn Leela, everything would be disturbed. No, he is the object of love. So, but his sankalpa must come true. So Leela Shakti says, "Oh, we need another Leela. Not here, but here. Let's go inside here, deeper. The lotus that is Golok, there's another lotus inside. That is Navadvip, where that eternal desire of Krishna to taste the love of Radha from her vantage point is played out in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sriman Mahaprabhu ki jai. Gaur Leela ki jai. Right? So you see the point. The desire is good, but not here, not in this situation. A new Leela. So similar here. In this Leela, how can the wives of Brahmins leave home and go to Vrindavan? How are they going to interact with the gopis? They're Brahmin. They have a certain disposition and bodies and reputation and so forth. How can they stay in the forest? This is Leela Shakti has determined this doesn't fit. This doesn't fit. If to love Krishna the way you want to, you can only do it in those meditative bodies. Right? You can't do it in this body. Here in the Prakat. The Prakat Leela is a place where the sadhakas are meeting the siddhas and going the distance and so forth, bridging the gap. Final step. So Leela Shakti intervenes, and she is driving now Krishna's instructions for them. Go back. Like this, no, you cannot have me in this Leela. You need bodies of gopis, and now you have bodies of brahmanis. So there's the Varnashram social system, superficially, is governing the Leela. Well, in reality, it's being driven by Bhava. There's a superficial system, social system. And they all observe it very, very, very nicely. They're all very good Vaidhi Bhaktas. They're not Raganuga Bhaktas. They're not doing Raganuga Bhakti. No, they're doing Vaidhi Bhakti. And if you do Vaidhi Bhakti with Rag Marg in mind, then you'll attain it. You have to become good Vaidhi Bhaktas, right? You have to start out with Rag. If you start out with the ideal of Rag, and we should, but apply ourselves in Vaidhi Bhakti, as Rupa Goswami instructs in his 3 verses about how to execute Raganuga Bhakti. So, again, we do Archana, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Archana, and so forth. Right? So Krishna gives them all, pushes back. First of all, it's not going to be what it was before when you go back home. It'll be a favorable environment. Go back, and then in separation from me, in your meditation, you will attain me in gopi bodies. I will either in my next Prakat Leela, he doesn't explain, or I have to take you there. You take to Golok in that body. So you're there. But now, given my Prakat Leela and how it works, the system, the method, and so forth, this step has to be taken. This is advice. Wow. Incredible. Leela Shakti. So, yes, the details of the Leela, they're important. Of course, some details we perceive slightly differently and spoken about differently in order to bring out the bhav that is central there. But it has a shape, it has a form. Krishna Leela. Yes, Krishna's Indian. He's a Hindu. He's a Hindu. He's a Vaishnav. He's an Abhira, a Vaishya. He's a cowherd boy. He's all these things. And this is one face of Bhagavan, the primal face. We call him Swayam Bhagavan. Krishna's too. Bhagavan Swayam. This is the foundational point of tattva that must be in place. And it's right there in the Gita 10:10. What does he say? Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate. Iti mat bhavajante man raga bhava samambita. Mata sarvam pravartate. Know this, Arjuna. Everything is coming from me. Mata sarvam pravartate. Iti mat bhavajante man. He says it in the other way. I'm the source of everything. Everything comes from me. I'm the source of everything. That means all forms of God, all the avatars, the guru comes from me, everything, the source of everything. You're in touch with the whole source. That's me. And Hamsarasya Prabhavo, Matasaram Pravartate, Iti Matva, Bhajante Mam. Knowing those things, that thing, Bhajante Mam. Buddha Bhava Samambita. Sridhar Maharaj like to say, Raga Bhava Samambita. Then you will have, having that in place, then you're in a position to worship me in such a way as you can come to Braj. This is the 10th 10. This is the first of the 4 essential verses of the Gita in which Rag Marg Bhakti is coming out of Krishna in his sermon to Arjuna. Rag Marg. Tushyanti cha, Ramanti cha, Katayanta, so forth. So this, that he shows himself as Bhagavan. This is very instructive to us here. When he tells what he tells the Brahman, is very important for us, right? So again, and Leela Shakti, preserving the nature of the Leela. And so, of course, he sends them home. And what he said is the brahmanas become the wives become the worshipable objects of the brahmanas. We'll get to that, but first, what about lunch? These cowards have been waiting for a long time, right? I don't want to keep you all waiting too long, but now Bhagavan is being offered right here first, right? We'll take his remnants. They brought food for Krishna and Balaram, and the cowards are ready to serve it out. So Krishna comes and serves it out himself. He serves it out to every cowherd boy, and after they've all had on their plate, this is reverse, right? First we'll offer to him, then we'll take the remnants. In Goloka, many occasions. He serves them all out. And they've eaten, then he'll take. This is Krishna. And he takes with a smile on his face, and everyone is happy. And Madhuvan exclaims, this food is unbelievable, he said. This is the most worshipable object I've ever come in contact with. If a grain of this rice falls on the ground in the dust, pick it up and wash it off. Worship it with your tongue and send it to your stomach. This is incredible. He tells Krishna, what we should do is build a hut here and take these Brahmanis and lock them in the hut and make them cook constantly for you, Balaram, and me. This is his idea. And Sridham says, and Krishna says, you glutton, you're crazy. What kind of crazy talk is this? Sridham says, no, what we should do is lock you in a hut, Madhuvan, forever, and have you worship these Brahmanis. And he says, how indignant of you, you glutton. It was not me who went and begged food. It was you who went and begged food. I'm simply honoring in your midst, giving it a blessing. And you criticize me in this way. What was the height? What was the best preparation of all that the Brahmanis cooked? What was the best? Later on in the Lita Madhava, maybe the last act, ninth act of the Lita Madhava, we find Madhuvan speaking with Krishna, and he says, do you remember those coiled peacock-shaped jalebis? Jalebis are coiled. They look like peacock feathers coiled, that those Brahmanis cooked. I can't stop thinking about them. I can't stop thinking. This is like, they're in Dwarka at the time in the late Madhava. I can't stop thinking about them. Those jalebis, coiled peacock shaped, whatever that is, jalebis. This is the height of, he's the connoisseur, so we take it from him. Such was their cooking, right, for Krishna. Then, of course, the boys and Krishna prepared to go home. Krishna chanted on his mala of gems, counting calling all the groups of cows. He has 25 groups of black cows, 25 groups of yellow cows, 25 groups of white cows, 25 groups of, did I say black? Red cows. That's 100 groups. Then he has 8 groups of different types: speckled ones, spotted ones, ones with heads like mridungas, and so forth. So calling them as he does on his mala, 108 groups. They all gather, putting his arm on the shoulder of Subal. They head off home, singing Nam Kirtan and talking among themselves about what just happened. But uncharacteristically of their return home, when they get home, mum is the word. They're not going to tell what happened today. If he killed a monster, they're going to tell. But he had this thing going on with the Brahmanis. That's not something to talk about. The Narmasakas will instruct all the other friends. Don't talk about this. Don't talk about this. One thing we note is Balaram repeatedly stated Balaram is there. Balaram is there. So Balaram knows. He's approving of Krishna's love. Typically, he doesn't participate, but this is a different situation. Krishna standing next to Balaram. They're coming, these sadhakas. He's Bhagwan too. And he is big Bhagwan. Because Henu Nitai Bine Bhai, Radha Krishna Poi Benai. They know. Without Nitai, that's Balaram. There's no worship of Radha Krishna that you can attain. He may be in Sakiras, that's true, but there's no rasa for you if you don't go through Nitai. Nityanandaram ki jai. And so they go home again. The Brahmins accept them and so forth, and they become worshippers of Krishna in the mood of the gopis, following their gurus now, who are their wives. So they weren't all bad. But of course, they got a good blessing from the Gopas. But there's a very beautiful verse I want to rest here with today's talk. This is from Ujjwal Nilmani, a verse attributed to the women of Mathura. So I cited in my book. Thus, following his instructions, driven by the wisdom of his Leela Shakti, they returned home. And as Krishna promised, their husbands were now miraculously favorable to their wives' spiritual pursuit, having realized and repented their mistake. Indeed, in a reversal of roles, the Brahmins accepted their wives as their gurus, and imbibing their wives' mood as followers of the Braj Gopis, they offered prayers like this to Krishna's milk maidens, following the example of their wives. The Gopis, who are the crest jewels among all the maidens of the world and have spent many lives engaged in prema dharma, have learned well the art of amorous intrigues from the guru of their own adolescence. And it is Krishna to whom they have given the fruits of their learning, who in turn has given them a passing grade after a thorough examination. To them, I offer myself. Mathura Brahmanis ki jai, Braj Gopis ki jai, Mathura Brahmans ki jai, Gopal Krishna ki jai. Gopa Brindapal ki jai, Gaur Premanandi, Panchakalpatri Vyascha Sindhudeva Chapatritanam Bhavane Krishna Vijay, Nonamaha, Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanandi.
Srila Guru Maharaj ki jai.
Sri Mantra Dhyana ki
Jai.
jai.